Hey everybody, welcome to Rock, Paper, Hand Grenades. I'm Matt Connerton, and of course to my right, the Honorable Turtleneck and All, Gary S. Hopper.
So yeah, if I had to compensate for that, I'd need a howitzer.
I know,
That's
right?
What I said, right?
Yes.
Hey, so tell them what I got you for your...
So Gary, the Honorable Gary S. Hopper, has gotten me my very own...
Put it in the microphone so they can hear it. That's awesome.
My very own hand grenade.
Is that awesome?
It is. Yes, thank you very much.
No,
Thank
I
you
went
very
to the gun show on Saturday, Uncle Matt, and I have to buy something because it's a gun show.
Right.
And I really can't afford...
I should put that up here.
I've been having trouble with my truck, so I've been getting that fixed. So having extra money to buy a gun isn't in the cards.
Right. You can't drive a gun.
But, you know, $5,000 for that hand grenade for you was definitely in the...
Well, it's in my
budget.
contract, actually.
Right,
but,
yeah.
So I do appreciate it.
I'm sure I could have found it for less.
Probably.
Probably.
Not very thrifty, are you?
No, I'm not. Let's see. Kathy Souza is supposed to be here. She'll be here any minute to talk about some of the stuff that she's introduced. She introduced legislation, I think, defining a person, trying to define the unborn. And the other one she's on election law, and she's got a bill in about straight ticket voting.
Really?
Yes, to allow straight ticket voting. So that's
what? Well, I guess we can ask her when she gets here. But
what does that mean? You mean?
Well, I know what straight ticket voting is. Of course, that's when you go in and you just vote straight ticket. You know, if you're a Democrat, just vote straight Democrat. If you're a Republican, just vote straight Republican.
Right, but it used to be you had a box at the top.
Yeah.
Do you want to vote just for Democrats or just for Republicans? And you could just check the box.
Yeah.
I don't think they have now. You have to actually go through the entire process of checking each box.
Right. Do you know why they did away with it? Because I was always surprised, and I never understood the rationale.
Well, I think that the rationale was people at the bottom of the ticket. If you don't know who you're voting for or against, should you really be voting?
Right.
In other words, like Kathy and I are at the bottom of the ticket because we're state reps.
Yeah.
So somebody goes in there and they're voting for Barack Obama or they're voting for Mitt Romney, and they have no clue who their state reps are.
Right.
Whether they're incumbents, not incumbents. What the heck is going?
I had to throw something to someone off
fish
camera.
Or something.
Someone on our staff, because for those who don't know, here at Rock Paper Hand Grenades, we have a huge production staff.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
I had to throw something to someone.
Right, so throw some peanuts to the gallery or something.
Yes.
Some pennant.
I don't know what you're going for there, but it almost came out very wrong, whatever it was.
Yeah, probably. Well, I stopped before I got too out of hand.
Yes.
But so we're going to talk to Kathy about that.
Yeah.
So I had orientation yesterday for the Judiciary Committee.
Ooh.
So we got to go hang out at the. It was actually kind of funny because usually what happens on these adventures is you take because we meet and introduce everyone because there's always new freshmen, and there's I don't know, half the committee I think is new.
Yeah.
And we meet in the committee room and introduce each other and go through some procedures, and then we took a ride over, because I'm on Judiciary, we took a ride over to the state Supreme Court, and we met the justices and the Chief Justice and that was fun, and they had free food.
Oh yeah, always good. Free food's always good.
That's always really good. The thing that happens though, and this is one of the dangers of the legislature, is people get, when the justices in this case, or years ago when I was on Fish and Game Committee, the people that you're dealing with in the various departments, state departments, are always really, really friendly to you as a legislator. You know?
Yeah.
And it's as a legislator, you have to be savvy enough to know that 90% of the time they're full of it.
Right.
They're not really lying to you as
Right.
much as it's like you have to treat them what they say with as much regard as a boss would with his subordinates.
Sure.
Because you know the subordinates are coming up and kissing your butt.
Right.
And they don't necessarily as soon as the tables are turned or the camera's not on, what they might say is probably a lot different.
Right, of course, yeah. Of course.
And it's funny because it's really not that kind of relationship.
Yeah.
But
Right.
it acts like that. I noticed it big time on Fish and Game because they were the people on Fish and Game I developed a pretty good rapport with, and we're getting along great, and they were always glad to see me and happy to see me. Then all of a sudden I switched over to Judiciary, and I went back to Fish and Game over there to ask some questions or something like that. It was just like, it wasn't night and day,
Yeah.
but it was all of a sudden I really didn't have anything to do with what outcomes of bills that they kind of want to get through.
So now you're an
So
outsider.
now it's like,
to them.
okay, well,
Interesting.
yeah,
Huh.
it is very interesting, But it stands to reason that that's the case.
Yeah.
So that's what we had the House Republican Alliance meeting before that, and some of us old timers were giving advice to the new guys, and that was my advice: is make sure you keep your distance between your committee and the department that you're in a sense are overseeing or
Sure.
passing bills for or against.
Yeah.
Which is more the case. You pass, like on Fish and Game, you're going to pass bills that maybe the Fish and Game department doesn't want.
Mm-hmm.
And they might not want it just because a lot of times it's just because it's never been done that way before. You know what I mean? More
Sure,
than
yeah.
there's any real legitimate reason for or against.
Right.
And maintaining objectivity is very difficult but necessary.
Right. I can imagine. I believe our guest has arrived.
She has.
I believe so.
Gary took all the parking
Gar-
spaces, so I couldn't park.
Yes.
Yeah, I actually had to stretch my vehicle out so that it would take out 20 parking spaces.
20?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Your vehicle must be made of silly putty or something.
It is. It's actually kind of like a foam rubber type thing that
Yeah.
I can stretch out.
Right.
I was ready to go home and have my husband drive me and drop me.
Well, hello?
You would not have been popular.
Again.
Well, in front of my husband, he asked me if he had just talked to my favorite husband.
Oh.
Yes, I did.
Really?
Well, I called up and I said, "Is your favorite wife there?"
Yeah. What are you guys,
And
Mormons? I don't know. Just ask
Good guess.
Thank you. Yes,
Right, yeah, I don't know
I'm
why
pretty
you would-
intuitive.
Hey, so anyway, before we, this is Representative Kathy Souza. What district are you? I forgot it.
Well, Hillsbury 43, which is Manchester wards 4, 5, 6, and 7.
4, 5, 6, and 7.
Yes.
At least they're in sequence, so it's easier to keep track. It was like 4, 5, 2, and 8. And
Yeah. It's
I don't
good-
know why
good
that's-
chunk of the city.
it's a good chunk of the city.
It's in a city.
Is it like a at-large type thing, or like
It is.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, when they redistricted, they said we didn't deserve 3 representatives, and so we got 2, and then a fraction by sharing.
Oh, okay. So you're a fraction.
I'm the fraction.
All right. Well, somebody's got to be, right?
Somebody's got to be the fraction. Hey, so I was looking at the, they don't have all the bills listed yet,
They don't have a lot of them listed.
right?
You're
But
correct, yeah.
one of the ones that you're listed as being the sponsor of a bill to allow straight ticket voting.
Yes, actually, I am. Yeah, I was approached by a gentleman that's very, very concerned that we should be allowed to do that, and I said yes. I'd be willing to give it a hearing, give it a shot, put my name on it. Sure.
Okay. So, but is it something you're passionate about, or just
no,
it just somebody?
No, but I think that if
Was it a
that's
constituent, or
yes, but I think if that's something that people want and are interested in, we used to have it, and I'm very willing to give it a hearing and see if enough people want it, and I'll be for it. Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, because I was trying to understand what the rationale. To me, I kind of understand why they got rid of it. I mean, I don't really. It doesn't bother me if it was or wasn't there. But I kind of understand because people like you and I are on the bottom of the ticket, And there's a lot of people who show up to vote who have no idea how many terms you've been in, how well you've done, or what you've done, or how much constituent service you've done, or anything else about Kathy
Right.
Souza.
Right.
And they will vote against you by checking off the D. So I kind of get it. If you're going to vote, you should kind of only vote on those races where you at least know the people involved.
Or on the issues, not just
Or-
blindly. Right.
Not blindly. And I think that's maybe why they got rid of it.
It could be.
And I'm willing to bet that the Republicans are the one who got rid of it because of in the city and stuff like that. It's a lot more Democrats who are going to straight ticket vote. But I don't know.
I did when I was, because up until the mid 2000s, I was a Democrat before I became an independent. And I used to, I would do that. I would straight ticket vote, just check off the D and get out of there. Yeah.
Right.
On the other hand, you could say that you may get more votes because some people may only vote the top of the ticket. Even a Republican, they may not bother go
Right.
down.
That's
Right.
true too.
So in my 3 of my 4 wards are Democrat. I'm a Republican, so I don't know how it would work. I really don't. But I'm willing to listen to it and see if people want it. And,
Right.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I mean, on the other hand, it's, if people want to do it, they want to do it. So.
Some people want it as a convenience.
Right.
Some people won't spend the time looking at ballot questions.
Right.
And we hear all the time, voting should be made simpler, voting should be made easier. Well, if this is something people want, then let's hear it.
See, I disagree with I don't, this one I kind of, I see both sides of it. But on the voting should be made easier, I totally disagree.
Well, in what you mean by
I think
easier,
it should be
right.
harder.
I
think it should be not difficult to vote, but it should be a concerted effort to vote. I don't even
Well,
like.
it should be considered not only a right, but a really great privilege that we have in this country.
Yeah, it's
And- yeah.
I think it's an obligation.
Yes, and yesterday,
Responsibilities may be a better word.
the election law committee. I'm on election law.
Yeah.
That's my committee, and I think you replaced me on judiciary.
Yes, I did.
But anyway,
It
I'm
was
on
tough.
election law, and
I got a long ways to go to do that, but
yesterday, Bill Gardner, the Secretary of State, gave a really nice presentation to our committee. And he talked about how some states have just made it so easy that people don't even bother. Like some states you can vote over a 2-week period.
right.
Some states you can just mail your ballot in. And so it's not considered the privilege. It's not taken that seriously. And I agree with him. When I say easy...
Now, what is the voter turnout in those?
We have, New Hampshire has one of the best systems, Bill Gardner was explaining to us, and I believe him, because we have narrower ways to vote than other states. Like, we're not like Florida where you can vote over a period of a couple of weeks. We're not like other states where you just mail it in. You have to vote in person, and is only voting on one day. And the state made it easier in that you can register almost any time in this state.
Right.
Years ago, it was only on certain days that the state office, the town clerks or the supervisor, the checklist at one point, were in business a couple of days a month or a couple of days a week.
Yeah.
So he'd made it easier in that sense. But in the sense of concentrating it on a special day and calling attention to it, he said, makes us a lot different. And we're one of the top states in terms of voter percentage.
Oh, really?
One of the very top. Yep, and we have been consistently. And after some of the other states,
Is that because we're wicked smart?
no, but we take it. We take it as a real responsibility, and we take it seriously. And we came out even better in the percentage of voters in this state, as to other states, after the federal laws that loosened it up. We got exceptions to that law, and so we do well.
Yeah.
So.
And Bill Gardner's a pretty cool guy.
He really is very knowledgeable.
Yeah.
Extremely. If you want a history lesson, just listen to Bill Gardner.
Hey, every now and again, I'll go into his office when he's not busy, and he'll start talking. And I wish I brought a tape recorder with me because there's just so much information that he imparts.
We should get him on the show. Have you
Well,
invited him?
Yeah, I have, and I'm gonna get him, but
Yeah.
he's just a busy guy.
Has he been in that position a long time?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
A long, long time.
he is the only Democrat that I've voted for since I lived in Massachusetts.
Huh, no kidding. Yeah.
Because the legislature is the one who votes the Secretary of State in,
Okay.
and he's been the Secretary of State since I've been in office. I don't know how many.
No one even runs against him. He's just too popular.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, he's also that good.
He is.
You know, it's
the
not a-
Republicans love him just as much as the Democrats.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh.
So
So-
there's your bipartisan vote for the next 2 years.
Well, good. Glad we got one in there.
Exactly. So anyway, we didn't come to talk about election, but what you wanted to talk about. Now I know the next one coming up in judiciary is your bill to define a person.
That is actually Representative J.R. Hull's bill.
You're a co-sponsor.
I'm a co-sponsor,
Okay.
absolutely. And that is a really good bill. It came before your committee last year,
Yeah.
and I take it you voted for it. And I have a copy of it here. It's House Bill 194. It's just been given a number.
Right. That's next week, I think, on
Yeah,
the 20th.
and I believe next Thursday, but I don't
Yep.
know the time yet. Do you know the time yet? I wasn't assigned a time as last I knew. But it's essentially a bill that says life begins at conception. That's essentially what it is.
Right.
It doesn't do anything.
Right.
It doesn't have any penalties for not agreeing with it. You can't break it. It's a bill that says the state of New Hampshire finds that life begins at conception. And it has all the backup. I brought it here in case, but I don't think you want to read it on the show. It has all the backup of why,
Yep.
It refers to the scientific evidence of when the sperm and the ovum unite and what happens genetically.
Right.
It's been proven time and again by geneticists, by biologists, by physicists, by everybody that this is when human life begins.
Right.
But it's a bill that gets so much passion out against it. It's amazing for a simple statement because it's not asking anybody to do anything except agree with a biological genetic fact.
Right.
But the problem is, to some people, once they agree with that fact, it might make them think to a logical conclusion. Well, if it really is a human being, should we allow the destruction of it?
Right.
It gets us into the abortion debate.
Correct.
But that's what it's meant to do. It's meant to make people think because we can't just expect that we're going to change laws in this country. We have got to change the culture, and people have got to think and realize what abortion is and does. And so this simply says that the general court, us, the legislature, finds that there's significant evidence which supports the premise that a human life begins at conception. And once we put out that challenge, so to speak, other states are going to do it. Other states are trying it.
Yep. Has
The-
has this gone past anywhere else yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
The U.S. Congress and the U.S. Senate have, but both bodies haven't. When Gordon Humphrey was senator, when Bob Smith was senator, these were up in Washington.
Gordon. Okay.
And Gordon Humphrey.
Right,
Remember
yeah.
him? Yeah, good guy. Anyway, yes, and they're meant to challenge the Supreme Court if they go through, because if these laws pass the U.S. Congress and the U.S. Senate, then it would set up a challenge right away to Roe versus Wade, and it would have to be reheard. And there's a growing feeling in this country that at some point the U.S. Supreme Court is going to take one of these bills as a direct challenge.
Right.
and if the makeup of the court is right, and if the feeling in the country is right. You know, we have to change the culture.
Right.
And it could be the thing that will reverse Roe. Roe has been here since 1973. Sandra Day O'Connor, who is pro-abortion, said that the decision didn't even make any sense in these trimesters. She said this decision is on a collision course because it has constructs in it that are artificial, such as viability, which changes. The rationale for not letting fathers have any say, for instance.
That's actually one that's always kind of. I know when I was a freshman, or the first couple of terms, I had thought of introducing legislation to require it. The bill I wanted to introduce was just almost for the same purpose, just to get people talking about it. And the bill, in effect, if it went through, would allow a male to opt out of the birthing process. In other words, the woman says, I'm pregnant. And he says, well, I want you to get an abortion. And she says, no, I don't want one. At which point he is financially no longer liable. She has to sign a paper. You know, and the reason it's the reason I wanted to do that is because it is, if he's financially liable, then it's as much his choice as hers.
Right.
Okay.
And the Supreme Court in Casey said that doesn't matter. The man has no rights.
That's not reasonable.
So that
If you're financially obligated till the child's 18, and in some court jurisdictions beyond that, then if she can terminate it without your say so, then that's
I agree with you.
It's
so
totally unreasonable.
Roe has a lot of logical flaws as well as moral ones. But
Right.
Anyway.
But I would never do it because
Right.
although it would start the conversation, it would also very likely create more abortions.
Yes.
In which case, I don't want to feel responsible.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. You'd be the devil's advocate, but you might end up being the devil.
Exactly. Wouldn't be the first time.
Right, of
but-
course, yeah.
But anyway, that's JR's bill, and I'm delighted to co-sponsor it. And it's got it's full of co-sponsors. It's a full list.
I saw the list.
Yeah.
Now under the Democrats, you said you introduced it last year. What was the vote even?
It's always lopsided. There's a problem getting the Democrat vote because the Democrat platform, unlike the Republican one, is pro-abortion. And
it is overtly
yes,
pro-abortion.
yes. And as you know, in the New Hampshire House, Republicans will vote together on a lot of issues. They vote their conscience on a lot of issues. The Democrats vote in lockstep, by and large. And I don't have to tell you that.
No.
They're almost always 100% if it's something that the leadership wants. And there's maybe 5 or 6 Democrats that on the abortion issue
Will break ranks.
will break ranks. It's very, very hard for a Democrat to break ranks. Very hard. There's a lot of pressure on them. And so it takes a really strong person to vote their conviction because they're very, very party-oriented.
Do they not break ranks on anything? Because like we've talked about on the show, probably when you've been on, and I'm not a Democrat, I'm an independent, but I am pro-choice. But I would support things like, for example, parental notification and fetal homicide and things like that. Are the Democrats that you're talking about, will they not break rank even on those things? Are they?
Well, they don't have to break rank on some things, like the gambling issue. Usually they're told to vote their conscience.
Well, but that's not really a partisan thing, it seems like.
No,
anyway,
it's not partisan.
Right.
But there are some things that are not part of their party platforms.
Sure. Okay.
And so the leadership will, tell them to vote their conscience.
Oh, I see. Because
But if it's something that's like a party platform, they're expected to hold to it. And
Okay. So even on nothing, they won't break ranks on anything. Then if it's
if it's
on
a party
abortion.
platform,
Okay.
they're really asked to stay with the platform. Yeah,
Okay.
that's a big difference on
Yeah.
between the two parties up
Yeah,
there.
as much as some of the people in the public are really upset and find it humorous about the Republicans fighting each other, the fact is we really are the party that accepts all kinds of things, because we do fight with each other. Whereas I have never seen that with the Democrats.
No, and we
I have seen fights between leaders in the Democratic Party,
Sure. Yeah.
but that's it. You don't like Kathy said, on most issues, there's maybe just a handful of Democrats who will ever vote against leadership.
Okay.
Yep, that's true. But you're going to have another bill in your committee of mine.
What are you doing to me? What are you doing to me now?
There are a total of 7 pro-life bills coming this year. This
Nice.
isn't including ones that may be from the pro-abortion perspective.
Okay.
Last year there were some definite ones from the pro-abortion perspective, like to celebrate Roe. That was an absolute ridiculous thing to celebrate that.
Can I insert one thing? I do think there's a fundamental difference between being pro-abortion and pro-choice. I think I've said this probably
We've
the last
done
time
that.
you were on
We've
a year
gone
from now,
around.
but
We've
I
done
just
it.
have to throw that in.
Okay.
Like, I'm pro-choice. I'm not pro-abortion. I would never encourage anyone to get an abortion. I think it's a bad option. I don't agree with it. I just don't want to take away that choice, because I think outline it would cause more problems than it would solve. But I also think that most people who support abortion rights, they're not pro-abortion.
No.
We're pro-choice, and
No.
I just want to make that distinction, because I
I
hear that
know.
term pro-abortion.
I know you feel that way, yes.
Okay,
but now,
I just had to get that out.
if you could support J.R. Hull's bill about human life starting at conception, then you might want to think, well, what about the baby's choice? But anyway, I won't take you there now.
You take me anywhere you want. That's fine. I said my piece. I'll
Okay.
discuss whatever you want.
But we have 7 this
Seven,
time.
okay.
7. And the conscience clause one, Representative Warren Groen has one that would protect the rights of healthcare workers
Yes,
from having to participate.
right.
And pharmacists are at risk right now. That is one that is really at risk. Nurses, doctors can do what they want generally, but anyway, he's got one in on to the protection of
Healthcare workers.
healthcares.
Yeah.
There's another one Representative Groen has in to stop funding for Planned Parenthood.
At the state level.
Yes, at the state
Right.
level. Yes, at the state level. And I just before I came in, I opened a piece of mail.
You know, that's
from,
a funny one too, because like on those two, you would think you would get more bipartisan, because those aren't really pro-life bills per se.
No, they're not. No.
I mean, anybody who's has a conscience would, I think, would be inclined to allow a nurse to not be required to take part in something she is morally opposed to, or he is morally opposed to.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
But-
the
but
people
that's
that are
not the way it
really,
will be
really
dealt with.
hardcore abortion. I'm not talking to you. The people
I
that are
understand,
really-
Kathy. It's all right.
The people that are really hardcore abortion want everybody to think that abortion is good and acceptable. It's this feeling that it will, the more they can make it and force it on people, the more it will be accepted. And so they don't like bills like this.
Right.
But I had just come across, I had just opened a thing from American Life League saying that taxpayer funding of Planned Parenthood, now this is nationwide, $542 million nationwide.
Is that via state or federal?
No,
or
this
all?
is all taxpayer. In our state, they get about $3 million combined, but $542 million. And they talk about the percentage of the money and where it goes, and the different so-called health services. And nationwide, they've got figures to show that the female contraceptive clientele is down 18% in the last few years, and cancer screening clientele, and that's not mammograms, they don't do them, fell 27%. Every delivery area is down except one, abortion.
Right.
And now they like to say that they don't use taxpayer money in most states anyway for abortion.
We got a phone call.
Grab this call here. Hi, welcome to Rock, Paper, Hand Grenades. Who's on the line? Hello?
Hey, good evening.
Good evening. What's up?
Not much. Am I on now?
Yeah, you are.
You are live.
You're live. Rock and roll, buddy.
All right. All right. Hey, listen. Why is government so into everything we do?
And what particular are you referring to? Because that's pretty general.
Don't listen to your TV. Just listen through the
All
phone.
right,
We're on a delay. We're on a
I'm not
delay.
listening to TV. No, but really, everything we do, government is involved.
That's because you let it get out of hand.
I didn't let it get out of hand.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, it's
I
your fault.
vote all the time.
We got to blame somebody. You can be the scapegoat.
No, I think it was you personally, but no, I mean I think we all have. I mean, I've talked to a constituent a couple of weeks ago and went to court with her. I think it was last week. I talked to another lady who's that I met through Facebook today about how the court system is completely out of hand, and they're basically holding people's children's hostage until they pay enough lawyers enough money to get their kids back. So yeah, we by our lack of civic responsibility and understanding the issues over time have let government become Big Brother.
Gary, may I add something?
Yes.
And it's true. We don't need Big Brother holding our hand every time we do something.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, historically, on the abortion issue, it would be the reverse. Historically, abortion was always illegal in this country.
Yeah.
And that was even before the genetics and the biology showed that the human baby starts at conception. So it was always illegal. And government's first obligation is the protection of human life. So the protection of human life, if extended to the unborn child, would not
All right.
be an
Are
intrusion.
you Catholic?
Yes, I am.
I am too. But listen, I should not interfere with a woman's right to decide.
What about the
Maybe-
baby's right to decide?
No, the baby has nothing to do with it right now.
Well, yeah, actually,
It's underneath our protectorship.
Well, that's,
I agree,
it.
but I wouldn't argue it that way.
Well, historically, the baby was protected, and as Jefferson said, the end of government is the protection and the defense of human life.
right.
No, I don't want the government to protect me.
Well, that's
I have a gun. I can protect myself.
Right. So,
No, listen. Laugh what you want. But what I say is very serious. I don't want Big Brother holding my hand.
no, I understand.
I think we all agree about that.
I don't want them holding your hand either, because that's kind of weird.
And it's cold and flu season. You can
It
pass
is.
germs,
Yeah, you can get germs that way.
Right.
All right. Hey, listen. Hey, everybody, have a good night.
Yeah,
Thank you.
take care.
Thank you for the call.
you.
But I understand the premise is
Oh,
that
yeah.
you just a lot of people do look like as the pro-life movement as infringing on women's choices. But the other side of that coin is, as soon as a woman gets pregnant, she is now in overseeing, if you want to, for a better word, the life of another. It's not. I think part of the problem is we go back to what we were taught 30 years ago, that there's this little, salamander growing inside a woman, and it's really not the case.
No, but since the protection of human life always did extend to the unborn child.
It did.
Until 1973. To say that government is now intruding would not be the case, because now the government is saying that the woman can do as she pleases. All 9 months, she can really do as she pleases. But anyway, this bill to protect conscience, I'm hoping will go someplace. And again, that's going to come to Gary's committee. Yes.
That's
The
gonna be
fetal
fun.
homicide.
Oh yeah, it's wicked emotional.
And there's a
Yeah.
fetal homicide bill. As you know, we've tried
Now that'll
this.
go to criminal justice.
That'll go to criminal justice. We've tried this bill many times. We're one of just a handful of states that does not allow the prosecution for the killing of someone's baby inside the womb
Right. Now, what
at any stage.
what is your opinion on that one?
No, I've always agreed with the fetal homicide bill.
Right, I remember that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
yeah.
we passed that. Governor Lynch vetoed it a
Yeah.
couple of years ago.
Yeah.
We passed it handily. The Senate had the votes to override the veto, but the House didn't have the votes to override the veto. And again, it was
What
mostly
year was that?
2012.
Okay.
And just last year, Representative Leon Rideout, whose family suffered the loss of a 7-month preborn
Oh,
little girl,
yeah.
A car accident?
found out that they could not even have that child recognized in law. It was as though nothing ever happened to that child.
Right, right.
The daughter, the representative's daughter, was seriously injured, and it was recognized that she was seriously injured, but there was no recognition in law for that little girl. And that bill, so Representative Rideout put that bill in, and he's got it in again this year. And we're hoping that we'll get it passed this year. I think we will.
Yeah.
We'll be looking probably at a gubernatorial veto, and so we'll have to work and try to persuade the governor that
It could maybe not.
this is really worth passing.
She wants to run for Kelly Ayotte's seat in 2 years, so
Oh, really? Oh.
Is
Yeah.
that do we know that for, I mean, obviously we have no way of knowing for certain, but I mean, is that kind of what most people think?
that's the
trajectory,
rumor. That's
really?
the trajectory.
Yeah.
So a fetal homicide bill, because most people in the state are probably fall into the category of Matt. As far as you got us, which are pro-life people, and then you got the pro-abortion people, and then you have the pro-choice people, and that's probably the majority.
Right.
I would guess.
I think there's probably very few pro-abortion people.
no in the
In the
legislature there is.
Okay.
Very, very.
The reason I
vocal.
say that is because even when you go to parental notification,
Yeah.
which I can't find any constituent.
Right.
Well, I shouldn't say it. I'm sure I could if I really looked.
Yeah.
But if I went around and asked 400 constituents, do you believe a 12-year-old should be able to get an abortion without the notification to the parents or permission?
I would even support that permission. I
right.
would even support that.
And
yeah.
I would bet you that 380 of them would say yes.
Right. Of course.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
not in the legislature.
No,
It will be a flat line across the
But isn't
Democrats.
just that whole lockstep thing? The Democrats marching in lockstep.
It
Pretty
is, but still they're responsible for their own votes.
Right. Right. True.
Whether
Yeah.
or not their leadership tells them to do anything
Right.
is irrelevant to the fact that they should be voting what their conscience tells them to
They should.
first.
Agreed. Absolutely.
I
Agreed.
get
Yeah.
told how to vote all the time, but I'm not so good at listening.
Right.
So anyway, we're very hopeful that fetal homicide, which you said will go to criminal justice, will pass this year.
Yeah.
We have had so many instances. I've got cases of maybe 20 in the state since maybe the 70s, where preborn children of various ages have been killed, either murder of the mother,
Yeah.
or vehicular homicide or negligent homicide.
Yeah.
And absolutely no recognition. That's the hardest thing, that your baby never existed or meant anything to anybody.
Right.
So I'm hoping that maybe we can get the governor on our side on this one.
Yeah.
Do you want to hear about more bills?
Yeah. We got time.
We got more time, but we have to cover because I don't know
You've
if
got other topics.
does that internet work?
Yeah.
Is there any possible way you could look up NH Right to Life, and unless do you know when the walk is and all that
Yes,
stuff?
I certainly do.
Oh.
Okay,
It's
never
this-
mind.
Okay. Good,
At
because this
the-
works, but it's slow.
Yes.
No,
Yes,
at the end, I would just want because I forgot to write it down. Kurt was on here last week,
Oh, he was?
Yes.
Okay.
And Jane.
and Jane Cormier were on last
Oh,
week. So
okay. I asked Jane for tonight, but she had other plans, and I asked Kurt,
she was on last
and he
week.
had other plans.
Yeah, they had enough of me yet last week.
Yes, Representative Keith Murphy has a bill to ban late-term abortions after 20 weeks. And coincidentally, that bill is before the U.S. Congress right now. It's based on a lot of considerations, viability being one of them, fetal pain being another.
Yeah.
We have testimony from all kinds of experts in neurologists that deal with prenatal life, biologists, pain doctors saying that, yes, the baby does feel pain at about 19 weeks during the abortion procedure. And so banning late-term abortions has a lot of different reasons going for it. And the U.S. Supreme Court, when they made that infamous decision, did say that the states would be allowed to ban late-term abortions, and under certain conditions.
Okay.
But this bill is written to meet those conditions, that has the necessary exceptions that would be mandated and all that.
Okay. I was curious about that.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
Oh, yes. And we're hoping that this might pass. Representative Willett had this bill maybe 4 or 5 years ago. I think it was 2012. It passed the House overwhelmingly. I was amazed that it did. We quoted from some of the neonatal experts and some of the experts in pain medicine and nerve experts, and we quoted some of the testimony about what happens to these children, and the House did listen, and they did pass it, but the Senate killed it. So, so it didn't get out. But anyway, Representative Murphy has that one this year, and we're hoping that it may resonate and get the discussion going. And again, that brings out the humanity when you're talking about these issues. It does
Right.
bring out the humanity of the unborn. And we have a bill that Gary's going to get in his committee.
Another one.
Another one to repeal the buffer zone. The buffer zone that was passed in this state says that we can't go within 20 feet of the entrance in an abortion clinic.
Yeah.
And as you know, on Pennacook Street in Manchester, every Thursday, there are people praying outside from morning till night.
Yeah.
And every couple of weeks, a young lady will come out and say, okay, how can you help me?
Right, right.
And it does happen.
Yeah.
It does happen. And that buffer zone has never been enforced for the reason that the U.S. Supreme Court, in an exceptional ruling last summer, said that the Massachusetts buffer zone, which is essentially the New Hampshire buffer zone, was unconstitutional because it interfered with free speech. And it was
Yeah.
a 9-0 decision. Well, ours is still on the books, and it's under an injunction right now. But we're the live free or die state. We should be holding up as an ideal free speech. So I think it's a blot on us, on our history, to have this on our books. So I have a bill in to take it off our books.
Yeah.
And if this doesn't pass, there's going to be a court case. And the court case will be expensive. So there's no need to not pass this bill, because it will go to court. And we do know, well, we can be pretty sure of the outcome because it was a 9-0 decision. So that bill is going to come before Gary's committee, and it's going to be fireworks.
Yeah.
We know that.
Right.
Yeah, I was. This is funny. I was we typically when we on organization day when we go over to the justices, we take our own vehicles. Well, yesterday Chairman Rowe said because it was so cold, he thought it would be better if some people that were parked nearby carpooled, and they got one of the vans to take us over.
You mean one of the court vans?
No, the house. You know how they have the van that goes from Store Street to the LOB?
I've never ridden in it. No.
Yeah, I've ridden in it once, I think.
Okay.
And but anyway, so they got that, and a couple people carpooled, and I was carpooling with Kassishan. What is her name?
Charlene Takeshan.
Takeshan, yeah. Charlene, okay. She didn't know the way, so I knew the way to the courthouse. So I was in the front with her, and a couple of the other legislators were in back. And I was on the way over there, says, I really don't mean to make you uncomfortable. But the fact is, I have my pistol in my pocket, and I'm sure they're not going to let me in the court with it. Would it be okay if I left it in your glove compartment? So she did, but you could tell it was not her favorite thing to do.
Really? Oh, my.
And it was actually pretty funny.
Oh, gee.
'Cause
yes, I can
I'm
imagine.
always making friends. Always making friends, influencing people. You know me.
Do you often find yourself uttering that phrase, I don't mean to make you uncomfortable, but, and then whatever comes next?
No.
Okay.
Hey, Kathy, because we're going to run out of time before we do something. Hey, I want to ask you as a woman if you think this is reasonable. My wife's got the flu and she's been sick for 3 days. At what point should I start, looking for a replacement?
I thought you were going to ask when you should bring her flowers.
No, I wasn't.
No. Why would you ask that? Why would you ask
know?
that? That's
I'm keeping my distance.
She's sick.
Yeah, that's true.
And probably contagious.
And probably contagious, yeah.
All those germs and stuff.
I know, right?
Gross.
Well,
Yeah.
if she's listening, you might not have to worry about
she doesn't
getting
watch.
a replacement.
No, as Gary says all the time, she doesn't watch the show.
She doesn't watch the
No,
show.
no.
Oh, when's it going to replay? I'll let her know. Oh,
I'm not a nice person.
but we have a pro-life caucus at the house
Yep.
now.
Oh, yeah, when is that?
It's going to meet Thursday, January 22nd, the anniversary of Roe, coincidentally. It just happens that way.
Now, you meeting every Thursday, or when is
No, just as needed. So we decided that we met last week. We met, and
Right.
then we decided that
Excuse me.
on the 22nd would be a good time at 9 a.m. before the hearings, which usually start at 10.
Don't you have? I know we get some bills next Tuesday on the 20th. There's none of those.
No, I think Thursday is the personhood bill.
Okay.
And we decided that since a lot of the bills would be coming out within the next week or two, we'd meet for a short meeting at 9 o'clock on Thursday, the 22nd. And the whole purpose of this caucus is communication, just so we can all share what bills we've got in, find out who can be available to go to testify, and help each other out.
Okay.
But it's had a very good response. I'm amazed. Some of us have felt like lone rangers on this issue sometimes.
For a long time.
Yes. But we've got a lot of people that have signed up. It's amazing. I think maybe now it's not just that there are more pro-lifers up there, but that they're encouraged, that they know who each other is. Mm-hmm. And so the list is growing. Kurt Welper is in charge of the list management. He is computer literate and I'm not, and so he's in charge of the list management and getting the emails out.
Right.
And so it's really encouraging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wish I keep encouraging Matt to run for state legislature.
Really?
Because I would love to see people like that are actually independent. You know.
What are you Manchester, Matt?
I am now.
He is now.
As of literally a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, I used to live in Concord. I'm in Manchester now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah.
What would you sign up as though?
What ward?
I actually don't know. We got to figure that out.
Where do you live?
Yeah, it kind of north end.
Okay.
Just a few blocks from here, actually.
North?
But yeah,
Past Bridge Street?
yeah,
It's 2 or 3. 2 probably. The north end is way up the north end is 1. Then it comes this way. There's
yeah. I'm not sure. I mean, I think we're in. I'm not sure. I got to figure it out. I'll know soon. Obviously, I'm gonna have to figure it out if I'm gonna consider running for something. But yeah.
Yeah, it's actually pretty cool because you're inclined towards both sides.
Mm.
You know, Republicans on some issues, Democrats on some issues. So you could
Right.
actually legitimately look to see what the dominant party is and run as that.
Yeah.
'Cause
True.
you can't run as you can run as an independent,
Just not if I want to win.
but not if you want to win.
right.
You know, we have
Yeah.
a libertarian lady that runs every 2 years, Lisa Wilbur in town.
Yep. Yep.
And she's a nice lady,
Yeah.
but she isn't going to win.
Right.
And
yeah.
and it's funny because you have a lot of libertarians that are run as Republicans and Democrats that do win.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so it's
true.
well, run as a Republican, then we'll be able to talk to you more easily and
That's true.
and convince you more easily.
right. Right.
all right. Before we got 2 minutes, let's see. So the March for Life is this weekend in Concord at 9 a.m. at the memorial services at the Concord landfill. At 10 a.m. at the Catholic Mass is at St. John the Evangelist, celebrated by Bishop
Labashi.
Labashi. That's at 10 a.m. At 10:15, the rally out in front of the 11:15. I'm sorry, is that out in front of the State House? And if you make it to that, then there's the march all the way back to the church at the other end of town, and because the march is at 11:45, and then you head over to the Catholic Church, and they have tons of food,
Ooh.
which is the reason I go.
You're all invited.
You know, I tend not. I'm less about issues and more about free food.
Okay.
You're very practical that way.
Yes.
Yes.
You know. Kathy, I know you got more stuff you want to go through, but we're. Is there anything quick?
No.
wanna cover?
If people would go to the State House website and look up some of these bills and come up to testify, would appreciate that. And
Yeah, if there's people out there that are really interested in getting up and speaking in favor of some pro-life bills, you can contact Kathy's phone numbers on the state website. My phone number's on the state website. I'd love to sit down with you and explain to you how to do that. And maybe we should have a show, at least talk about that for part of a show
I
sometime.
think that would be really good.
Because
yeah.
if you're really passionate about an issue, New Hampshire is one of the few places where you can easily have access to getting your opinion heard. It is a very wonderful thing.
Absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
remember sitting in the Judiciary Committee, I don't know, a dozen years ago, and I had a bill in the committee, and the hearing was over, and Henry Mock was the chairman, and this older gentleman, I don't know, probably around 80 years old, walks in, and Henry was at the end of the hearing, and Henry says, is there anybody else that has something to say? And this old guy says, well, yeah, I got something to say. And he went and sat down. He introduced himself and said, but it's not about this bill. He says, well, would you like to talk? What did you want to say? He says, kind of just walking by the building and kind of wanted to check up and see where my tax dollars were going.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can You can walk in the State House and just wander around, take a self tour. It's
Yeah.
Yeah, take a tour or go into the LOB is usually where all the hearings. That's a building in back.
Yeah, and,
And,
walk in, listen to hearings, take.
But
part.
if people want to know if they have a bill they see on the website that they're really, really interested in talking about and want to know how to do that, call me, call Kathy. I'd love to share that information with you. And we'll see you next week.
I'll hit this one more time as we go. Kathy, you didn't see this. Gary got this for me for Christmas. It's my own hand grenade.
Was that custom made?
No.
All right, well, that's it.
What is it?
Bye, everybody.
What does it say on it?